Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Alfred Odom. In this video, I will be discussing choices. Whether young or old, the choices you make affect your future. I hope you enjoy. Today we want to talk about choosing paths. There's several paths to take in life. We think of the path of your goals and aspirations. We think of path of relationships, and we think of paths of conflict, or how you handle conflict, how you handle situations of life. And the thing to think about when we talk about choosing your path is, let's first of all recognize the fact that you have a choice. Recognize that you've been blessed with the privilege of choice, the ability to make a selection. And when we talk about the ability to make a selection, you want to make the best selection for yourself. And then we talk about the wisdom being used in making a selection. And when you want to make the best selection for yourself, you have to think of valuing yourself. So recognize that you are an individual of value. You are an individual that's beautiful with value. So the choices you make, the selections you make in life, you want them to be reflective of the value that you have. So you must learn to appreciate your value. You must learn to respect yourself and respect your privilege of choice and selection. So when we talk about making the best selection of goals, aspirations, what we connect our hearts to, relationships. Now, you may not always have a choice with the familial relationships, such as who your family is, but you do have a choice as to how you navigate in that relationship. And you do have a choice of who you connect yourself to when you talk about friendship relationships and loving relationships, a companionship. And when you think about how you handle situations of life, your ability to select how you do that. In order to be consistent in your selection, consistent in your choices, and when you want your choices to reflect the principles you hold, then in order to be consistent in them, we have to think about aligning ourselves with three aspects of life: mindset, character, and growth. These three aspects of life must be aligned with your choices. So you must focus on these three aspects. When you think of your mindset, we think of your thought process. And we think of character, we think of your disposition, and growth deals with the maturation process, your development. So things begin in the mind. I will use a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson, which speaks to: you sow a thought, you reap an act. You sow an act, you reap a habit. You sow a habit, you reap a character. You sow a character, you reap a destiny. I think that quote is just so profound and so rich. When we think about the mindset, our thought processes, things begin in the mind. How you want to handle situations of life, the type of relationship you want, the aspirations or goals that you have, things begin in the mind. So, what is your thought process like? Do you focus on your thought process? Do you have a set of principles that govern your thought process? Do you have some tenets that you live by, some principles that you live by? You know, sometimes we're just living by emotion. And emotion is good because we're human beings and we are emotional. Passion is good. Sometimes when you want to institute change, you need to have a passion for something in order to jumpstart it. Or something you don't like, you develop a passion that I want to change this, or I want to engage in this. But when we talk about emotional, you know, some days you could be happy and some days you could be sad. 1 minute you could be happy and 1 minute you could be sad. You cannot allow your mindset and how you live to be just totally based on emotion. But you must be able to live by principle. You must have a set of principles that govern and dictate your behavior, your mind, and how you approach things. I think about my own journey when I wanted to change my weight and I wanted to be healthier. And I thought about how to approach this. And I started out with a kickboxing class because I knew that that would get my body in tune going in the right direction. And it was mindset. I had to think about, food differently. I had to think about exercise differently. But it all began in my mind. And I didn't set out to say, well, I'm going to do this particular diet. I just cut certain things out and didn't eat at certain hours. But I looked at food as not something that I'm just going to sit down and intake just for total enjoyment. But there's a statement about you eat to live and not live to eat. So the focus is on eating for your health, but you're not living just to consume a lot of things. So it begins in the mind. So that process began in the mind. So I implore you to have a set of principles that can keep you grounded and that can govern how you live and dictate your thought process. Now, we talk about sow a thought, you reap an act, and sow an act, you reap a habit. So a habit, you reap a character. Character, your disposition, your temperament, what makes you, what causes you to shake and move. So it begins with the mind, but then the character is the outpouring of it. So how do you deal with people? How do you deal with situations? How do you approach it? When people see you coming, what do you look like? What makes up your movements of life? So when I was on this weight loss journey and healthy living journey, my character had to begin to, exemplify what my thoughts were. So when my thoughts were more healthy thoughts and I saw a picture of what I looked like, I always say if you can see it, then it can happen. You have to have a picture of what you want in your mind. So I had a picture of what I wanted to look like. And, I always say if you can see it, then it can happen. You have to have a picture of what you want in your mind. So I had a picture of what I wanted to look like. And on this journey, the picture is coming to fruition. And my character begins to exemplify my thoughts. So I began to feel better. So when I began to feel better, my disposition was better. My temperament was better. So when you have a certain thought process and you have guidelines that you live by, then things don't shake you and rock you, and you have something to keep you steady. For myself, it's my faith, and my faith and my trust in the Almighty keeps me steady. So that begins to build my character. When your mindset and character are right, you can begin to experience maturation. You begin to experience growth. So maybe I was at one station, but then I began to see myself grow. I began to see the change in my life, the change in my body, the change in how I felt. I began to feel healthier. So when you talk about mindset, and then you add in the character building around it, and then the gauge of that you're in the right direction is your growth. Do you see maturation? So how I want to handle situations of life, do I see growth in that? Do I see maturation in that? I think about relationships, and we often say we want to meet a particular type of person or we want to be in a particular relationship. Do we reflect what we want? So, I'm in a beautiful relationship now, a beautiful woman, but I had to take time to understand myself and reflect on what I wanted, and what I wanted, do I see it in me? So I began to change my mind, and my character began to reflect my mind more so. And then I began to see the growth in myself and began to understand myself. And in understanding myself more, then I met and God brought to me the person that really is, the other piece to this jigsaw puzzle here. The other piece to this puzzle just fitting so wonderfully. And, everything is not perfect. I'm not perfect, and no one is perfect. But when you find the right piece, it just feels like perfection. And the things that you go through don't deter you because you're in the right place. So when you think about the choices that you want to make, think about valuing yourself. Think about being consistent in your choices. And in order to be consistent, you have to develop a good mindset. You have to develop a good character. And then the growth is the measuring rod of that mindset and character flowing together. And then when you look at the mindset, character, and the growth, and those things are aligning to where you want to be, then you can get there. See, your choices that you make in life and your mindset, character, and your growth should exemplify where you want to get to. So I implore you today, when you think about choosing a path in life, how you handle things, your relationships, and your aspirations and goals, make sure that your mindset and your character and growth line up with it. Be well.